Well, they finally won. They finally did it. Oh man, hallelujah. Yeah, that felt good. I be honest with you, actually the biggest takeaway I had from today, that rain delay was the dumbest and softest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It was like an eighth an inch of rain. They're like, yeah, put the tarp on.
I mean, wasn't there a game earlier in the year? I was literally texting you they need to call it, and it was like you couldn't even see, and it was a legitimate concern for player safety. That rain delay was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I'm still blown away by that. And there's going to be people in the comment section that watched just like we did, and we're like, rain delay, and it happened twice. So I don't even know what we're doing. But at least they won.
Some of that was the report. They probably were looking at what the weather was on its way, and they're like, let's get ahead of that. Let's put the tarp on. And then nothing happened, and the game just resumed. It was weird. And we were in the middle of a rally, too. So, but we'll digress here. The Yankees found a way to win. Hey, that's all that mattered. We had to win at some point, and it felt like I know Boone kind of called it this rain cloud, and I hated that just from a standpoint of, and I understand what he's saying, but it was under our control. It was our doing. We're playing bad baseball. It didn't matter who we were playing. You're playing the Angels. You play Boston. You're supposed to be playing up. The Yankees haven't been ready to play. They showed up today. They have, I believe it was 12 knocks overall. That's what it's supposed to look like, right? Tyler Anderson on the mound. You're supposed to be hitting. You're supposed to be doing damage. We did that today. Grisham, Goldschmidt. We had some guys leaving the yard today. It was a bit warmer of a day. I know they were talking about it, Jake. They were saying that balls are going to be leaving the yard. Obviously, Carlos Rodon, very typical outing from him, right? He's going to pitch well, but he's going to give up 3 solo shots. I think it was Trout, Ward, and Michael K's favorite player, Joe Adell, right? His 8th of the month. So I don't know. I just think that this is a game that we had to have. You have to stop it at some point. Jake, what'd you think?
Yeah, well, let's just say this. You really needed this. Full disclosure. You needed this game so bad. Obviously, the season series goes to the Yankees after this win. Not like it's going to matter because it's not like the Anaheim Angels or whatever they're calling them are going to be in the playoffs, so you don't really have to worry about that. But they do have that season series win. Look, Rodon pitched well. I saw people complaining about the 3 home runs given up. Was not worried at all about it. I think I saw on Twitter, you said kind of the same thing to the degree that I'm talking about. And this goes and coincides with something that we were talking about earlier in the year, where you can't just have a Will Warren give up 5 runs in 1 inning, or even 3 runs in 1 inning. You get off to, that start. You'd rather break it up. And that is what, of course, Rodon did over 6 innings. I was really impressed with not just Rodon, but the bullpen. I thought the bullpen, per usual, was doing well, but you thought like if they start to hit, maybe there's kind of like, oh, okay, we don't have to be amazing anymore. And you thought probably immediately, if you were me, maybe you didn't think that. I did. I thought as soon as they started hitting, the pitchers wouldn't be able to pitch the same way. Rodon pitched well. Leiter Jr. pitched well. Loaizaga pitched well. And I think the most impressive performance, aside from the hit by pitch, was Devin Williams, who struck out the side. And it's starting to look really like a force to be reckoned with, right? But the hitting, 12 hits, 7 runs against a pitcher that pitched pretty decently the last time you faced him. We'll take that all day. So, big props to guys like Bellinger, who had 3 hits. Goldschmidt had the home run. Jazz Chisholm and Trent Grisham. We'll get into Trent Grisham being in the lineup over Jason Dominguez over the course of this show. But yeah, I was really impressed with what I saw, the fight I saw, and kind of the leadership I saw from guys like Bellinger, who really, I think, they take ownership almost. I feel like Bellinger's kind of one of those quiet leaders on this team. And today is an example as to why I believe that.
Yeah, and I guess we probably should have scored more, right? I mean, replay did us in. I know this was
awful.
part of the topics that we wanted to talk about this. And it leaves a bad taste in your mouth because you just don't feel like we're doing this right? You watch the Yankees play, and obviously I read the messages on X. It feels like, oh, they have it out for the Yankees. I don't really think it's that. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you this. When you watch that replay, Cody Bellinger, this is a ball off the bat of Giancarlo Stanton. I guess
Awful.
after the replay, they called him out. It's now a fielder's choice, right? And you still get the RBI. That's great. Good for him and Giancarlo. But in what angle did they see where Cody Bellinger didn't beat that ball to second base? He was safe. And Cody handled it in a professional way. He gets in there post-game, said, I thought I was in there. Because, I mean, what else is he going to say? He was safe, Jake. Just that simple.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It really, I know people say it was close. Some say, well, the tie goes to the runner. Well, what does it say when the runner actually touches the big white box over near second base? What happens when he touches that before the ball gets over there? What's the call now? And you're sitting there listening to the broadcast, and they're saying, oh, wow, well, you beat it. So, okay, so we're going to put up a crooked number here. And then all of a sudden, you look up, and it's just an out, right? And it changes the complexion of that inning. So I was happy the Yankees were able to get off the mat because that was certainly a way for momentum to be taken away.
No, I definitely agree with that. I thought the two egregious ones, I mean, obviously, there was one that no one will talk about because you probably already forgot about it. That guy was not hit. That was BS. That ball never hit him. But that's not reviewable, I guess. So, yeah, totally fine. Judge, then, of course, there's a makeup call with Judge, whatever. But, no, I got to be honest with you. The one that really bothered me, aside from the second base, because
I'm trying to see if you're thinking
frame,
of what I'm thinking. Go ahead.
You already know what I'm thinking. Joe Adell, his check swing, like, all right. You can't hate on Joe Adell because Joe Adell himself was like, I'm out. He walked off. Rodon's like, he's walking to the dugout. He's walking to the dugout. And I'm going to be nice and not say anything about the first base umpire, but aside from the fact he was just an utter buffoon. I guess. Like,
Jake's like, I'm going to be nice. He's a buffoon.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there in like first and second grade thinking to myself, they're always asking, what do you want to be? I want to be a professional baseball player. The next kid's like, I want to be an astronaut. You know what we all should have wanted to be? We all should have wanted to be umpires, Major League Baseball. You don't even have to be good at the job. You're highly paid. And
you can decide who wins games depending on how far you go.
You get to be the main character. It's like a Hamilton play. You're
can
like
throw
a side character.
Out.
And if you feel like being big, you can just be big that day.
You could give Shohei Ohtani the business. You could just be like, I don't like you. You're out of here. What? Who's going to stop it?
It's just a complex that none of us understand. And when they make the wrong call, I guess when you get into replay, it's out of their hands now. And it almost feels like the replay booth is serving up as some level of protection for the guys on the field. That can't happen. That's ridiculous. It's blasphemous. Obviously, if we talk to them, they'd say, no, we don't do that. We make our own standalone call. Some people in our chat said they shouldn't know the call on the field, and they make their own call. But, I digress. It's just terrible. The replay system, I'd rather just get rid of it completely so I know exactly who to blame. But when we go into replays and they make the wrong call, who do I have to blame? I can't put a face to it, Jake. And that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, the replay review is dog water. It's just dog water. I mean, you look at the NFL again. I bring them up because they get it right. Because they get like, oh, it's not conclusive. Okay, we're gonna keep the call in the field, whether that he was safe or out. But with this, I there's a freeze frame of, I believe it is Neto who has the ball. Mm-hmm. He is in the air, has not touched the base yet. And Bellinger is already sticking his cleats into the bag. What are we doing? And then what's even worse...
Was he called out on the field?
Yeah.
He was. Interesting.
So what's even worse to me, Gary, is that we're figuring this out through just like 1-2 angles. They apparently, as we've been told by every single broadcaster, they have every single angle. The broadcasters will go as far as to say they have angles we don't even have. Like us
what angle did they
they
need to have a device where they can determine the millisecond there's an impact with the base. That way okay, Cody Bellinger slides in feet first. There was a major impact. You should be able to read those type of things and then make a judgment based on that. Obviously, football is trying to do it where they have a device at the edge of the football or a device on the pylons to try and determine where the football went, right?
They should chip all the gloves and all of the bags. They should.
They try and keep electronics out of it, like outside of the pitcher with PitchCom. And I understand the concept. They don't want things to get hacked, right? All types of things. But we do need to have a better understanding. People say tie goes to the runner. It wasn't even a tie. It wasn't.
No, not even close.
Disappointing.
Awful.
But I want to talk about, kind of go backwards here. I want to talk about, obviously, with Grisham and Goldschmidt, because Grisham and Goldschmidt hitting homers today, those are two players who are essentially ice cold, leading into this week. They were not giving us much. Paul Goldschmidt had an electric start, and everyone said they were talking about Brian Cashman, how good of a move this was over Christian Walker, who took a multi-year deal, right? And it seemed like that had worked, and I still agree it has. But to see Paul Goldschmidt do what he did today, I mean, you had multiple extra base hits. He was great today. He was big time. He was great defensively over at first base. The Yankees have to have this. They can't have another half season of nothingness from a corner position in the infield. Paul Goldschmidt has to perform, and obviously you saw that today, and it's part of the reason we won.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Goldschmidt was huge today. Did not want that ERA to drop below 300. He put his foot down and said, that's
his batting average?
Batting average. Good Lord. I'm looking at ERA right now. And it's like, idiot. Yeah. Yes, his batting average. Thank you, Gary. Oh, good God.
It will be somewhat sad when you see it drop. The good news is, especially in today's,
sad that it's dropped.
You look at the ops, it's still in the 800s. You're getting a ton of production from Goldschmidt. This is a streaky moment. He's going to get back on it. This is Paul Goldschmidt. This is a player who's a borderline Hall of Famer. Some people actually have him penciled in to make it into the Hall of Fame. It kind of goes to show his consistency is not going to be all over the place. I expect him to be good. I don't see a cliff anywhere in sight. So happy about his production. But the more interesting one, Jake, and this is where I'm so curious before we move on to our next topic here, is Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham's playing right now over the Yankees' top prospect in Jason Dominguez. Right now, Jason Dominguez is essentially a platoon bat. He only plays against right-handed pitching. And even then, he doesn't play every day against right-handed arms. So Trent Grisham had an electric start. And you look up and say, well, that seems to have regressed to the means. And that's what our audience has said. That's what we've sort of introduced. And now you look up and say, well, Trent Grisham's now hit 14 home runs, right? Grisham is now batting ninth. He's hitting 245. His ops is still over 820 at 823. So what are you thinking about this player? Do you still think Grisham should be playing over Dominguez? Or do you think the Yankees should just sever this, maybe trade him, and free up a lane for a player that they said they want to develop? Because this is a tough conversation to have, given if you're getting production and Dominguez is doing what he's doing. This is a hard choice.
Yeah, I mean, technically Trent Grisham's had the better year, right?
Easily.
Yeah. So you could look at this in two ways. The first, okay, Trent Grisham, this is a good problem to have, which is the anti-Michael Kay way, and you just keep him. Or the second, this is a player who is in a contract year, who likely will not be brought back after the season because we want to go out and get Kyle Tucker.
Okay.
Or so we hope. So is his value going to be any higher than it is right now? Think about
Trent Grisham's? No.
What team could use Trent Grisham right now that needs a bat? Every one of them. If you need a bat, Trent Grisham, based on what you've seen this year, it makes sense. It just does. So I'm not saying like I'm trying to trade him right now, but if it came down to the wire of like trading Jason Dominguez or Trent Grisham, you trade Trent Grisham. Don't make a decision to trade Jason Dominguez because Trent Grisham is the reason. That we're not doing that. Now, if you're trading Jason Dominguez, you're trading him admitting that you're not as high on him as he used to be. He's actually disappointed you.
Yeah, we can have that opinion.
People, but you don't do that to keep Trent Grisham. That's my thing.
Definitely.
Yes.
Right.
So,
but it seems to be what the Yankees are doing. The reason Dominguez doesn't play, and we've seen him play against left-handed arms, right? It's not a perfect, clear-cut platoon. It's not that. Mm-hmm. And you also look up and say, well, I think this is really more about Trent Grisham. This is just about Aaron Boone wanting to play Grisham. And is it ridiculous for him to be leading off? Yes. If he's not going to be on a hot streak, there's no reason to promote him up to leadoff and keep him there as if he has this long tenured success in that role. He doesn't. He's never done that. This is actually the first time Trent Grisham has ever given quality offensive output. He's always been pretty good defensively. And this year he's been okay defensively. It's definitely trending in the right direction. Trending up, that's great. But this bat, he's just deserving to play. And that is actually, in a way, I don't know if I'm happy about it or not, because now I look up and say, well, I have this good problem to have, but my top prospect hardly touches the field. So they call it a good problem, but at the same time, we get into this offseason, what are the Yankees going to sell me on Jason Dominguez? They're just going to sell me, oh no, we no longer have Grisham, so now the runway is, it's free for Dominguez now to take it and run. Well, how good is he, right? You had a player who was mediocre as all can be for 5 seasons in a row, and he lost his job to a dude having a career year who's a career 200 hitter. So, I don't know, Jake. It's like good news for the Yankees in the short term, but what does it mean long term? I'm not sure it's good.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an 823 OPS, and Willie Downer wants to DFA him. So that's what we're looking at right now.
DFA Grisham? It's awesome. William
DFA
never changed.
him before Peraza? What are we doing?
It's amazing. Or Wells, right? So anyways, Kyle with the super with 5 says even the Yankees can't lose them all. Hopefully they can put a win streak together. Kyle, again, thank you for the 5. I'm not necessarily concerned with win streaks. Obviously, I'm concerned with losing streaks because it means you can't win the day. I'm concerned with treating every single day as a standalone event that you have to win. That's the type of mentality I want the Yankees to have. That's why I want them to take this more serious rather than hopping up on the mic and saying, this is just a rain cloud. It's obviously frustrating, but we're going to find it. It doesn't feel like there's any urgency there. So obviously, Kyle, I would agree with you. I'd love to see a win streak, but let's start off by getting rid of the losing streak and now worry about tomorrow.
No, I like that. Yeah, I mean, you hope for the win streak, but, at this point, you just got to play consistent baseball. The pitching has been good. The hitting is not. Now you have a good hitting and performance. Keep it up type deal. You know what I mean? What do you think of the Jason trade rumors? Appreciate you, Scott. I haven't seen the trade rumors, to be honest with you. I have not seen anything on where he's going to go or whatever. Gary and I have been talking about this off air for a minute now because I kind of believe, and maybe I've just talked myself into him, but I kind of believe Spencer Jones could be that future piece and they move on from Dominguez because Dominguez's pop is what was separating him from everyone else. He's not having, I mean, he's in like the top 5 we talked about earlier today, Gary, for offensive rookie of the year or just rookie of the year. And you and I are like, why? AL rookie of the year. Why is he in the top 5?
He hit 3 homers in one day. That's awesome. It was great. Yeah. Outside of that, he's done absolutely nothing. Defensively, he's done nothing. He's actually done less than mediocre. League average would actually be a major step up, and we're not here making fun of him. We're just telling you guys not what necessarily our assessment is, and the eye test does tell that story, but also the analytics say he's heavily conservative out in the outfield. He's not really running down anything. Anything outside of like 5 feet away from him, that ball's down. And then when you combine that with lackluster and inconsistent offensive production, yes, he's a young player. That's somewhat to be expected. Well, when you're not great defensively and then you're wildly inconsistent and that pop has somewhat gone away since the injury, yeah, why would you be surprised that people are looking at you saying, why don't we float this name in a trade market, right? Now, as far as trading Jason Dominguez, I want to make something perfectly clear. Anytime you have a conversation about trading a player, people are going to take it personal. They're going to take it as, you see nothing in this player today, you see nothing in him next week, and you don't think we can use him in October or any time beyond that. That's the way they perceive dangling people on the trade market. The way that I perceive it is that you must have somewhat of a surplus at the position in order to use that player's perceived value on the market to now make a trade and fill another gap. I believe the Yankees have about, I'd probably say 2 or 3 holes on this roster that I think can have a major improvement. Do I think we can improve at third base? Absolutely. Jake, you've mentioned Moncada, and there's some sexier names out there on the market that potentially the Yankees can look at. Right. But also some starting pitching, right? Some higher end pitching. Maybe the Yankees can dangle some names of value. That's why Jason Dominguez would be out there. So, Scott, to answer your question, thank you for the 2. I feel trading a player or dangling his name out there isn't to be taken personally. It's not giving up on a player. It's trying to get value somewhere else that you need it more. And so honestly, I take no offense to putting him out there. It means he's valuable still, and that's because of his age.
Yeah, I like that. And then J Station, like the name. Thank you for the 5, and of course, thank you for being a member. If you guys had to make an official guess as to which pitcher and batter the Yanks get, who are they? I'm gonna just say IKF and Zach Gallen.
Yeah, it's hard to say that Zach Gallen. By the way, the Diamondbacks this week, for those of you who missed this, and their leadership has said they're still buyers. I don't necessarily buy that. There's no real reason to wave the white flag and alert baseball that you're going to be a seller at this point. I mean, we're still sitting here June 19th. There's no reason to tell Major League Baseball that you guys are giving up, right? You guys are throwing in the towel, right, on guys like Suarez because they want to maximize the value. So if I had to tell you the hitter I think we're bringing in, I think they're both from the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think they're coming in a package deal. I think we're getting Suarez, and I also think Zach Gallen will be on the way. Now, mind you, predicting the trade market is next to impossible. I know, Jake, we did it last year with Jazz Chisholm, but that seemed like a more obvious fit. There were a ton of rumors about it, but I think these 2 players would be great fits in the Bronx.
Yeah, I think the only thing I have against Suarez is, and he has above 800 OPS.
Yes.
He is going to hit about 230, And so when you have a bunch of guys that are, going for the home run and everything, you kind of see what we saw, right? You lose those 6 games, you're not hitting. It seems like the guys like that they struggle. So that's my only, kind of pause there. But Suarez slugs. So, I'm not against it. I think IKF is the better fit, if you ask me. But if you're looking for slugging, yeah, I mean, Suarez, Moncada, just stay away from Luis Robert. I just beg of you. I do not want Luis Robert.
I don't even think the Yankees are considering that. I don't know where that came from. I think obviously you float it out on X, it gets like 110 clicks, and now suddenly there's traction there. But
that's true.
I just don't. There's no fit there. Bringing in an outfielder just doesn't make sense for the Yankees unless it's a significant upgrade. He's not that. But as far as Suarez goes, you're right. Defensively, this is not an upgrade defensively, right? Guys like Peraza, better defensively, right? Guys like Jazz, even at that position, better defensively. But what you're bringing in is slugging, And also, when you mention guys who are low batting average, right, low contact, but they've got the pop, sometimes the fit has to matter. If you bring in a guy who's a power hitter who hits 225, the rest of the lineup can't look the same. It can't be a bunch of 220 hitters that are trying to hit for power. For example, when you bring in somebody, you're assuming Austin Wells is going to try and hit 220 with pop, right? That's his job. But when you look up and down the lineup, you got guys like Goldschmidt, guys like Bellinger, Judge, right? Dominguez is attempting to do so, even though he's hitting 235. Jazz is now working on a 70% swing. He's hitting now, Jake. So when you look up and down this lineup, you also see some contact starting to sprinkle in there. That's part of the reason why I think Suarez is a better fit. He has flaws, but I think our roster and what we have elsewhere can sort of blanket that and hide him in the lineup.
That's fair, and I really like the question. Appreciate that, J Station. Ninja Hot Dog is back.
What a name.
Appreciate the 2. Love the dog. Finally won, but how can we fix Rodon's homers? All right, let me just say this. Rodon was keeping the ball in the yard all year. I am not going to get on him because he gave up 3 home runs in a game. And, I mean, it was 3 runs. You know, he kept them in this game. He gave them a chance to win, and they ultimately did. I get what you're saying, but I'm not worried about the home runs. He's kept it in the park all year long. It's nowhere near like it has been years past.
No, you just have to assume as time goes on, he's not going to make as many mistakes. That's what he's done all year. He's always going to give up home runs. He's still a 4-seam guy. He's working in a sinker, right? You still get the slider. You still get the changeup. Great. He used to be a 2-pitch guy. He's trying to blow fastballs by guys. The reason you haven't seen as many home runs this year is because of that mix. So is he going to have days, especially on a hot day like today, where the ball just carries out? Yes, absolutely. But so did Garrett Cole. We talked about the problems that Garrett Cole had keeping the ball in the yard, but it didn't make us not trust him as we went into October. We honestly just said, you can't make mistakes with a heater behind in the count. And that's something that happened today, obviously, with Carlos Rodon. And next time out, I don't expect this to be a problem at all.
No, I don't either. Appreciate that, Ninja Hot Dog. Mark, thank you for the 5. Cap is 2 for 24, 15 strikeouts in the last 7 days. Obviously, the slump won't continue, but at what point do you get nervous after 10 days, 2 weeks? How long? I think he's already broken out of it. I think that double just completely changes the game for him moving forward. And I could be wrong, but I don't know. I have a feeling he is about to go scorched earth soon. That's normally what happens when Judge gets out of kind of like a brutal slump. Then he goes just ballistic. So that's what I see.
Well, how long was that slump to start the year last year? Was it a month, would you say?
Yeah, it was about a month, I would say, with May.
So you genuinely, Mark, and again, thank you for the 5 and supporting this channel. You genuinely have to ask yourself, can the Yankees survive a month-long slump? Now, mind you, this is 24 at-bats. So this has been going on for a little bit over a week. He had the hard contact laser to the wall today in his final at-bat. Great sign, of course. But you have to ask, do we have enough offensively? And you have to start looking at our overall rankings. Now, obviously, Aaron Judge and what he's doing personally has a lot to do with those rankings. You remove Aaron Judge and probably fill in a league average player, our rankings don't quite look the same, but we're not a bad offense without Aaron Judge. I know that's somewhat the storyline. It's not necessarily the truth. I think the Yankees can still find a way. They're not solely losing. If you had to ask yourself, why are the Yankees losing this past week? Why did they lose to Boston? Why are they losing to Anaheim up until today? It wasn't solely because of Aaron Judge. So when would I get nervous? I wouldn't get nervous because I think Aaron Judge is too good of a player to worry about any prolonged slump. He's the best hitter on the planet.
I agree with that. And then Omar, appreciate the super chat. A package including Dominguez for DeGrom. Keep up the good work, guys. Love the show. We appreciate that. I have mixed feelings about this because you're trading away Dominguez in a package to get a rental starting pitcher. I don't necessarily agree. I think I'd want a guy like a Freddie Peralta. Like if we were trading away Dominguez, right? I'd want somebody who I can have for like the long term as well. Because I am giving up a guy who could be a long-term asset. And of course, big could. But that's why a team is acquiring him. So I don't know. I like where Omar's head's at. We've discussed this before, Gary. You have mentioned DeGrom. Like if they wanted to go after, like really hard, go after Paul Skeens, they would need Jason Dominguez to be a part of that. That offer. So I don't know if he becomes available.
You're sending the house.
Yeah, I don't know if he becomes available in the offseason, but you see what I'm saying? Like moving Dominguez, and this is literally what I was saying about like Luis Heel, is like moving him for just a guy. Well, now you don't have him to trade him for a bigger fish. And so that's my thing. Like DeGrom he'd be a rental. They wouldn't have him very long. So do you think DeGrom wins you a World Series? If you do, and you're out on Dominguez, then it's a no-brainer. Then you don't care, right? You just don't care. But if you still feel like this team has needs and you're not out on Dominguez, you don't make this trade.
First and foremost, this is a great question, but I'm going to say this.
Fantastic.
I personally wouldn't consider trading Jason Dominguez for this player. And when I say I wouldn't consider trading Dominguez, I would in a heartbeat. You know the way I am with prospects. As long as I'm getting something I desperately need, something I desperately want for this team, not just this year, but also for the future, I'll give you anybody. I'll give you anyone with potential as long as I'm getting a sure thing. And if there's one thing about Jacob deGrom, sure thing and deGrom do not go hand in hand. All the way back to his days with the Mets, in his prime, he couldn't stay on the field. So could it work out? Could a team like Philadelphia, could a team like the Mets again bring him in and just try to go for it in 2025? Absolutely. But Omar, there's so much risk involved with that play, not just for us, for any team making this trade. That's why I perceive, and I saw it in the chat as well in our regular lives, people were mentioning, right, the contract there. It's like $27 million a year. That's another factor. So am I bringing in that type of money for that type of injury risk and giving up a player that I believe should be a key chip
37.
in a major pickup? Yeah, it's not the right player for who we're giving up. I have no problem trading for deGrom, but considering what we're sending out the door, it can't be him.
My biggest thing and why I said rental is because that's what I'm expecting with him. He's never healthy.
No. It's a 2025 thing. If he's healthy at the break, he'll probably, if Texas is out of it, there's going to be a team in baseball saying, we don't have that top flight arm. If deGrom can just stay on the field just for this one run, we can make a run at this and try to win right now and not worry about 2026.
This, by the way.
No, never. No, we would never do this.
Because they don't want to be on the hook for, they've been telling us, they've been preparing us. Hal's been saying they're going to cut back on the spending. They're not going to go and pick up a guy with $37 million a year. But again, I like where Omar has, where his head's at, because I'll tell you right now, this is the type of dialogue we need to have as an audience, as a fan base, as two podcasters, because this is opening our eyes to the fact that, Jason Dominguez has not lived up to the hype so far. It's early, but is it too early? We don't know until the Yankees make that distinction. That's really what it comes down to. If the Yankees decide it's too early, then he's not getting traded. If the Yankees feel like it's perfectly fine to trade him, then he's going to be gone at the deadline. And I understand it sounds weird because you think of this player and you're like, he hasn't really gotten much of a shot. And then this year he starts and now you want him gone. It's like, it's not that I want him gone. It's that they might have a surplus in the outfield. I'm not saying Spencer Jones is a guarantee, but like, again, if you're going to go after Kyle Tucker and you feel good about that, you have Aaron Judge and you got Cody Bellinger, right? And then you have some other guys like Pereira who's hitting well in AAA and, whatever, right? If whether you want to do it or not, you're going to have to make a decision whether Jason Dominguez is a long-term Yankee player, he's going to be a part of your franchise, or he's just ammunition. Because guess what? Honestly, you know who he reminds me of?
Who?
The hype? Jesus Montero. Remember, he came up instantly, had success.
We wouldn't
instantly.
trade him for we wouldn't trade him for Felix Hernandez.
But then
right?
they traded him for the fourth string starting pitcher on the.
Well, I guess it actually doesn't matter.
Pineda.
If you believe in Jason Dominguez, that actually doesn't matter when it comes to trading him. All that matters in a trade, and this goes for trading any player on your roster, doesn't matter who the name is, doesn't matter.
Certainly.
If you look around and say, I would rather have that player on 2025 and beyond's roster or just 2025's roster, welcome aboard. That's how trades work. If the Yankees perceive that there's a player out there that will help them win a World Series in 2025, whoever that is, and they think we'd rather have him than Jason Dominguez, there you have it. So are we saying that Jason Dominguez will be traded? No, more than likely, that's a huge play for the Yankees. If they ever did that, regardless of what Grisham's doing, like given what's going on with the contracts, Cody Bellinger with the opt-in for $25 million next year, there's a lot at play to trading a cheap asset. So the Yankees have plenty of reason why to just hang on to Jason Dominguez, because if he ends up being a great player, like you mentioned before, Hal's telling us he wants to go cheaper. Well, you know what doesn't help you get cheaper? Trading one of your top prospects for a player that you need. Now, you win a trade, whatever, but now you have to turn around and go sign a Kyle Tucker this offseason, or our expectations now change to go get a free agent. That gets more expensive. So do I think it's going to happen? I do not. I think the Yankees are just going to have to see if Jason Dominguez is he just going to end up being a good player, or is he going to be great? We're going to find out.
We are definitely going to find out. I have no idea, honestly. I don't want to, because I think people are so focused on either being the first to say a guy's going to fail or being the guy that was like there at the end. It was like the last one to get off and never got off the train. It was like, I told you. And it's like, for me, I don't really care. I'm in the business of being right. I'm in the business of being accurate. And the best way to be right and be accurate in this situation is not have a prevailing theory on Jason Dominguez right now. He's given us nothing to go off of. We don't know if he's going to be a bust. We do not know if he is going to be a star. He's shown bits and pieces of both sides. We do know that defense needs some serious work. And we do know that his urgency in the outfield needs some serious work. And we do know that the lack of pop is concerning, because otherwise you just become just a guy, a jag, if you will, if you're not a good defender, and then an outfielder that isn't a good defender and can't hit for pop and isn't hitting tons of home runs. I don't need 40 home runs, but I need at least 20 out of Dominguez. And right now, he wouldn't even get to 20 the way it's looking. So
you know what technically he is? You know what player he is? He's defensively, it's like if Yordan Alvarez had to play outfield, but you weren't getting Yordan's bat yet. That's what we're
That's
looking at.
Not a good player.
So take away the Hall of Fame level bat. And mind you, Jason Dominguez can possibly materialize into whatever, I guess, ends up happening, right? And there's a ton at work when it comes to development. Do you play?
He's Juan Soto without the bat. That's what Ed just said.
He's Juan Soto without the bat. So that's what it is right now. His ops is hovering around 700. So when you look at the average player in Major League Baseball, the average person who walks up to the plate, they announce their name, Jason Dominguez is giving you the production that any random player would give you in baseball, offensively, right? He also, and this is something that matters a ton, those numbers are considering they cherry pick his starts. They don't let him play every day. They don't let him struggle against really long-term against left-handed pitching. You didn't see him today. You didn't see him struggling against Tyler Anderson. That didn't happen. It
what does
probably
that tell you,
would have
by
happened.
the way?
Well, what it tells you is actually worse than what you think.
No. What it tells you is that they don't trust him as a right-handed bat. So why do they continue to try and push this envelope that he is a switch hitter when in fact he is not?
Well, I mean, they continue to say we're still trying, because I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying. Everyone wants to say on a player that ends up working out. For example, Anthony Volpe, he's the most polarizing player that plays in pinstripes right now. It's not even close. You look at this player, he's had over 1,400 career at-bats with the Yankees. He's a career 228 hitter. His on-base percentage, and we like to look at, I don't know, anywhere between 330 and 340 is really our target. His on-base percentage career is 292. This is supposed to be a speed contact bat. And then Michael K brings up on the broadcast today that his stolen base percentages are staggeringly low. He gets hosed all the time. He's not that fast. The analytics tell exactly the same story. Now, having said this, there are two parties, right? There are Anthony Volpe is highly underrated. The analytics suggest so. I'm not giving up on him. I'm going to stand pack on this side. Then you have the other side who says he absolutely is dog water. He's horrible. Here's why he's horrible. And I'm going to stand here 2 feet in the sand. There is no middle ground where people say, here are his numbers and here's what those numbers suggest. That's not how social media works. That's not how this conversation's working. So, Jake, to tie it back to Jason Dominguez, that's where we are with Dominguez. Dominguez hasn't shown a lick of being a franchise player so far outside of his first couple days in the Bronx, right? This is well over a year ago now. So now we're just kind of looking at Jason Dominguez and saying, well, when does this start, right? You're losing playing time to Grisham. When does this start? Does it start next year? Or are we going to be sitting here 2 years from now having people tell me how analytically this player is underrated? Because that's not good enough for your top prospect, I will say.
No, it's not. Miguel, we appreciate you with the 5. Jason needs to give up right-handed. I think it's hurting him. I've said this for a long time. I really do believe that to be the case. See, switch hitter, like, I understand. I'm not saying that I don't get it at all, because I see it often where it's like, well, hear me out. If he has the capability to hit on both sides, you want to develop that because he could be an even more important weapon. That's true. But typically switch hitters, like the really good switch hitters, you already know they're good. They're just good almost instantly. You know, like some of them, you know, figure it out later on. But one thing for sure we know with switch hitters is that they're at least really good at one side of the plate. And usually, Jason Dominguez has not mastered the left side of the plate to the point where I feel like, yeah, you can give the right a try. No, I 100% agree with Miguel. I've been saying it for a while. His development is delicate. This is somebody that's had injuries. He's had a significant injury, right? He had to get Tommy John. He had the lat strain on the check swing, which some people would be like, oh, well, he came back. Yeah, that's concerning, though. He hurt his lat check swinging.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, always.
So mind you, when we see left-handed pitching, right? We presume Jason Dominguez will not play. Again, Miguel, this is fantastic. So thank you so much for the super. Thank you for the 5 and getting involved here. We presume Jason Dominguez won't play. Matter of fact, I said yesterday he's not playing today. And then, right, sure enough, he doesn't. And anyone could have told you that. But having said that, the player who played over him today, Trent Grisham, who obviously ends up hitting the home run off of Anderson, of course. Do you know what Trent Grisham's hitting off of left-handed pitching this year and still got the nod to start? Just batting average.
198.
Very close, 188. So this isn't a player that necessarily has reverse splits or anything like that. Trent Grisham hasn't been electric against lefties. And yet, Aaron Boone thinks the combination of, and by the way, Boone is absolutely right. The glove in combination with getting a guy who hits 200, who can leave the ballpark against a lefty. He's boomer bust offensively. He's basically going to be like this souped up Jock Peterson. He's going to play quality defense. And he thinks that's a better option for the Yankees to win games today. So, if that's the case, how good is that player that you're telling me is a switch hitter? He's not very good switch hitter. He's just not. So,
No.
to Miguel's point, do you give up on that, or are you just going to be splitting time with at-bats because now he's just going to lose at-bats to Grisham? How are you going to develop as a right-handed hitter? And mind you, I don't want to see the development. I actually don't want to watch it because we're the Yankees. We don't have time to be watching you work at something you've never been good at. I want players to come up to the big leagues and show me what they have as a strength and then bring that to the Bronx. That's what I want to see. When you bring up Rock Reggio, Jake, and you've been mentioning a few names out of our system. Spencer Jones, he's opening up his batting stance over and over, and by the time you look at him, right, he's wide open. And now you're starting to see, you mentioned his ops, the slugging, right? We're not going to ask one of those players to do something they're not good at when they get here. We want them to work to their strengths. So my takeaway on this, the Yankees are wasting our time having him go up there right-handed, just a total waste of time. He's a left-handed bat. And right now, we need to figure out, can Jason Dominguez hit if he plays all the time and if he hits lefty on lefty? If he can't, well, then there's your answer right there, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it like this, right? My biggest thing is people will always bring up, well, he did it in the minors, right? I always hear that. I'm sure you hear that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just bring up the fact that he hit 274 and an 816 OPS in the minors?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that could have been a 900 plus OPS if he just focused on left-handed hitting?
Do you have what the numbers are in the minor leagues right-handed?
So it doesn't appear that, let's see. Looks like the splits are just showing MLB, but I'm very curious because no one ever brings that up. No one ever brings up the splits for minor league. Okay, I think I got him.
Because why would they change in a positive way? Like, certainly we saw it with Will Warren, right? He never showed anything below. And then they said, well, we see his pitch mix and the movement and the analytics, and they brought him up, and it worked out. But that's not how it works for most guys. Most often, when you see a player doing something really well at the big leagues, they were also showing signs of that in the minor leagues. That's the whole point of it.
This is horrendous.
Go ahead.
No, it's horrendous that I should be able to find it. And they're like, the splits, they're going by inning. They're going by behind in the count, starter, backup.
We don't even actually need the numbers. Do you want me to tell you why? I'll tell you why we don't need the numbers. We can go ahead and guess that they're bad. Here's why I know they are. Mm-hmm. Because when the Yankees said, hey, what do you think about the idea of him just hitting lefty? What did the Yankees say? The Yankees didn't tell us, oh, well, I mean, he's always hit well from both sides, so we believe it'll develop up at this level as well. They didn't say that. They said, we're going to develop it. Why did they only say that? Because he didn't do it well in the minor leagues. That's why. So
yeah,
you can put 2 and 2 together and come up with the conclusion you're looking for. So again, Miguel, thank you for getting involved with the Super. We greatly appreciate it. And I know there was another thing. Oh, I wanted to talk about the base running today because obviously the base running, and we'll finish positive because I want to finish with Aaron Judge, of course, and what's going to transpire in this upcoming week. But I saw a play today where we had a man on first and second base. And you're talking about a trail runner in Austin Wells. 3-2 counts. Now what baseball world calls an action pitch. It's either going to be ball 4 and you can't be thrown out. It's going to be a strikeout and the inning's over. Or there's going to be a ball in play and you're going to get a better jump to potentially score on a ball in the gap. That's the whole point of this play. Now, Austin Wells somehow, some way, finds a way to get picked off. And they said on the broadcast, what a move. What a move. It should be an impossibility for your catcher to take off before the ball is on its way to the plate when no type of jump, and the broadcast did bring this up. Why is that acceptable? And my conclusion, When players are continuously showing you they will not pay attention and we will not give you maximum output, like I'm not a Hall of Fame level hitter, you can't get away with mistakes like that cost us in rallies, that end rallies. Cannot happen. And obviously, I felt bad for Volpe. He got the caught stealing on that play because they actually ended up throwing the ball to third base, and Volpe seemed to be the guy on camera getting tagged out. That was on Austin Wells. It was dismal.
Yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, I agree. It's been, what, a week, and every single game there's some sort of base running issue. I don't know. It feels that way anyway, right?
Who's responsible, in your opinion, for the base running? Is it the first base coach? Because mind you, just to tee you up here, when you get to first base and you're in this moment, all you're hearing when you're going 3-2 in this position, standing as the trail runner, your first base coach is going to look at you and say, hey, see the ball to home. Is essentially just a reminder, you don't need a good jump. You just need to be sure it's going home. That's it. And I know for a fact the first base coach told him that, and it just didn't matter. So who do you think is responsible for this? Is it just that Austin Wells or some of our players don't necessarily have high enough IQs to trust them on the bases? Or is this also the people in the dugout who aren't helping them? What do you think this is?
I think it's part of the culture, how it's so kind of open-ended that you end up with this. And it coincides with what we've been talking about, what a lot of people have been talking about, how there isn't like an authoritarian like type of guy in that dugout. I mean, you got Jazz Chisholm like biting that one coach or whatever. Like, I mean,
so you feel like we have good students in the we have good students in the classroom, but maybe there's not anyone pulling it out of them, so they're kind of chilling. Like, I'll sit in the back of the class. I could apply myself, but no one's asking me to.
Were you ever in that class where, like, I'm not trying to tell on myself, but you had like the really smart people in the class, and so the teacher would be like, "This is the smartest class," and I'm sitting there like, "Me?" Like, you know, like, because I mean, it's like I didn't read the book and I didn't do the homework and I'm not passing that test, but yeah, smartest class. What I mean by this is like a teacher would often be like, they would clump the students because they had like 20 of the 32 students were great, right? Because that's 20 is a bigger number than 12. Well, if you have Aaron Judge and everybody loves Jazz in that locker room, right? And you got Giancarlo and you got Cody Bellinger. Well, at some point or another, you were just in the World Series. Things are good, right? You kind of clump in the classroom. Yeah, we got the best people here. But then you kind of, by having this ideology, right, you forget the other guys that need a little bit more fine tuning.
Didn't they get clumped into the wouldn't you get clumped into the negativity as well? So yeah, we won the pennant, but we also were beat in 5 games in the World Series. Because if you think about
that's not them. They just told us. Keep this in mind. Aaron Judge just told us they don't mope. They don't. Well, if we mope, then this, and this is going to happen. He just told us.
What is he saying is going to happen? They realize they're still in control. I understand you're not just going to drag your hands on the ground and just cry yourself to sleep. But I will tell you,
Aaron Hicks and
right. But I'll tell you this though. When I look at Paul Goldschmidt, who obviously led off for us today, and that was great. Yeah. Paul Goldschmidt, I would describe as a standalone, excellent base runner. Excellent. I rarely ever see him make mental mistakes on the base paths, right? Cody Bellinger, same deal. One of the best base runners I've watched. It's refreshing, right? He's going first to third. He sees the ball on the ground. He's not getting hung up to dry.
Is base running a lost art?
No, I don't think it's a lost art. I really don't. I think some players just take it serious and some don't. But there's some teams culturally, I guess to your point, some teams care about it, some don't. But you know what you're always reminded of? Base running really comes to play in games that matter. Always. Every single time. If you remember some of our World Series games, right? Some of those big at-bats, with Alex Rodriguez. He actually mentions the biggest hit of his entire baseball career was that double he hit down the left field line. Essentially called it a game that whoever won was going to win the World Series. He mentioned the fact that Johnny Damon stealing second and third because nobody was covering third base changed the entire complexion of his at-bat, changed everything about what he was looking for. And it goes to show you, base running changed the future of Alex Rodriguez essentially in the World Series and our future as a team. We wouldn't have won without quality base running. So it kind of should wake up the Yankees to the fact that these type of mistakes, while they're in June, they also were happening last October. So why should I believe this is just a slide? This is just, you forgot your thinking cap on at home, but I can trust you later in September. Why should I do that? You should show me that you know what's going on and that you'll maintain focus now. That way, I don't even have to think of this aspect. We can just worry about hits, home runs, right? ERA, preventing runs. But with this team, it feels like on a day-to-day basis, guys don't seem to take that part of the game serious. And I hope it changes, but for what reason would it, I guess? It doesn't seem like, as you mentioned, it feels like it's a lost art for us at least.
Yeah. No, it just does. And it definitely feels like a lost art.
This super's funny.
I don't love looking at it like that, but that's just what it feels like. It feels like it's culturally more of an old school thing. You know what I mean? Like Paul Goldschmidt, he's been in the league forever. It's not a surprise that he runs the base as well, or Cody Bellinger. But yeah, there's part of me that's like, who are the culprits? It's always the younger guys. And you would say, okay, yeah, the younger guys, not a lot of experience. I would disagree, because what I would say is I feel like they're focusing more on stolen bases and the nitty gritty in the minors. So they came from that more recently than Aaron Judge did, right? I feel like they're focusing more on stolen bases and base running fundamentals in the minors than they are in the major leagues.
Yeah, and they probably will call those guys up and then they'll just mesh right into what we do, because the environment says this is not the important. Matter of fact, it's not even top 3 of the important things that we focus on. We don't take guys out of games because of what they do on the base pass. We wouldn't do that. Maybe we'll take you out if you're already struggling and then you walk to first base. Yeah, we might do that. But we'll do that in your contract year in Gleyber Torres. We won't do it during the middle of your contract. No. We won't do that. So Ed W with the 10. Thank you, Ed, for getting involved. Says, is J-Dom just in his own world? Seems like it. No baseball smarts, or just not playing hard? It's a good question. To me, his play seems lazy. Floating over to hits, no chance of assists, extra bases, wild swings, blank look on his face. So I understand, Ed, exactly the look you're talking about. He's definitely a cool, calm, and collected player. He plays very similar in the field to Trent Grisham outside of the output, right? It's just, I'm going to do my valet jog on a ball in the gap. If I get there, great. If I don't, I couldn't have got there. So don't ask me to make this play. I couldn't have made it, right? And it doesn't seem important. I don't think it's unimportant to him. You guys have to remember, he's playing for the Yankees. He just really got here. He's trying to earn playing time. He just sort of knows that in the field, at least, we're asking him to do something that naturally he's just not great at. He's not. And so is he uncomfortable out there? Probably. I've never looked confident doing something I know I'm not good at. I promise you. Like, I played the clarinet in 5th grade. My whole family came to this recital, and I swear to you, I couldn't have looked more uncomfortable. I couldn't have, because I just knew I was ass. I was horrible. So that's my thing. Jason Dominguez just sort of looks this way. He presents himself this way. I don't think he's lazy. I don't think it's anything to worry about. What we should be focused on is that bat. If he's giving us production, he can look like Robinson, Cano down the line. He can look relaxed, whatever. I'll let it slide.
No, that's true. And then Ed is back again. Thank you, Ed. Yanks need a base running class, like defensive driving for bad drivers, maybe financial penalties. So I could be wrong, but I thought that there was somebody who had a stipulation in his contract, like if he struck out X amount of times, he would lose his bonus or whatever.
Oh, who was that? I don't know who that is.
I don't remember who it was, but I remember that being a thing.
Maybe someone in the chat could figure that out. Maybe. And we'll throw you up on screen because that's
Can you
interesting.
imagine that? Like the agent comes back to you and is like, all right, so they're totally down to sign you. But if you strike out this amount of times, because they do believe you will,
Right.
they're not paying you the bonus.
That's wild. I mean, if we were garnishing wages like the IRS every time you get picked off or you have a mental mistake, I mean, all our players would probably go broke at that point.
Oh man, that'd be funny. All right. Well, I think we're definitely done with this game. I would say. You ready to go on to Profit X?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So tomorrow we got, and the game isn't up yet.
Riding high on a win streak.
So we're just going to leave.
I want an update, by the way, before we go. So I'll be working on that. Right now, Baltimore, this is great, is beating Tampa 4-1 in the top half of the eighth. So this is good news. Baltimore should be out of it. There's no reason they should be a threat. We want Tampa to lose. We want Toronto to lose.
Tampa had 2 in scoring position, I think bottom of the 7th, and it looks like Baltimore got out of a jam.
Yeah, and Toronto lost 9-5 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So
yeah, so
definitely a good day in the division.
Yeah. So that would be 2.5 games, of course, if Tampa drops this one. The Yankees have the Orioles tomorrow, 7:05 at Yankee Stadium. Tomoyuki Suganu is taking on Max Fried. Fried has not faced the Orioles this season. Suganu was a pain in our ass the last time he faced the Yankees. We don't have anything right now on Profit X for the Yankees, so you guys are going to have to check tomorrow morning, and of course use code YANKSU when you sign up. But I'm going to say this right now. I think the Yankees bounce back. Suganu got the win last time. I don't even think he gave up a run. His ERA wasn't as good as it is now. Now he's pitching even better. But he does give up the long ball, 13 home runs, only 46 strikeouts in 80 innings pitched. So he's not a strikeout pitcher, one would think, right? Based on that.
This should be advantage Yankees. Max Fried puts the ball on the ground. He's our reliable ace. And his ERA is not 2 for no reason. The ball is rolling on the ground or he's striking you out.
He
That's
did
his
strike
game
out
plan.
the Yankees 8 times.
and that's fine. But when there's contact, not a ground ball guy. Does give up the homer. Fried is not that way. This should be a win for the Yankees, but we've seen crazier things. Matchups don't necessarily seem to matter. Didn't help us this past week, I'll tell you that. The Yankees got to show up. I'm focusing not on Fried, not on Sugano. I'm focused on our offense. What do they do as a repeat performance? Saw 12 knocks today. We saw guys leaving the ballpark. It made a lot of sense. It was a warm day. Should be warm again tomorrow. I want to see what they do offensively. Let's go score.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If he throws his curveball, it's gonna be a home run derby, though. He's got a -6 run value on that curveball. So
in theory, you shouldn't see it much.
No, the batters are hitting 400 with an expected batting average of 505 against it.
Okay.
And I mean, he's throwing it like one of his pitches. So it's not like he's thrown it 5 times. So his curveball, his sinker, his 4-seam doesn't even have a run value, which is 0. But he's really good with that split fingered, and he's really good with the cutter. So that's what you need to look out for. Right-handed pitcher. I think tomorrow we do get Ben Rice in the lineup. Better get Ben Rice in the lineup.
We will.
But yeah, but I think real quick, because we don't have anything on Profit X right now, I think I'm going to go with I think this is the scorched earth part with Aaron Judge. I think Judge is going to have the total bases. I'm going to take the Yankees to win and Max Fried strikeouts.
Beautiful. I got Jazz Chisholm. And I know this isn't maybe the sexy pick because people see he's still hitting 230. That ops is 800 now. And you guys don't realize what he's had to do to get here to this point. He was that bad to start the season. Jazz Chisholm's actually one of our better offensive players. Not the best situational guy for us, but start to finish 1 through 9, he's my pick over 1.5 total bases. I think the Yankees win tomorrow. And drop in the comment section. I want to see what people think about this Jason Dominguez trade idea. Would you just never trade Jason Dominguez under any circumstances? Or for the right player, would you dangle him? I'd be curious to know what people think.
I like that. And before we go, it's Superman Aaron Judge bobblehead day tomorrow. It's written in the stars. He's going to hit like 5 home runs. Watch it.
Wow, we're going new school now. Superman?
Yeah, I know.
Wow. All right. Yeah.
Anyway.
So drop those takes on Dominguez. Obviously, if you're new here, make sure you guys subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified. We go live after every single game. I know a lot of people were asking us that question, and they were not understanding really what our game plan was as a podcast. We're live every day. I know most of you understand that, but for those of you new, make sure to hit that bell. You know exactly when we go live. We usually tend to try and get ahead of it and schedule so you're aware of what we're doing. And of course, like this video.